Leviathan does have to show itself in order for this move to take place. And that's what's happening. So this idea that you live in, that they promote a lot more than Republicans promote, by the way, that we live in a democracy and the people are the ultimate arbiters of sovereignty and justice in America. And we're fighting to protect our democracy. By the way, we're protecting our democracy from Donald Trump, who's the biggest threat to democracy. But this guy, well, we don't like him anymore, so we're just going to remove him. And we're going to pull his money and we're going to pull his delegates. And then actually, to me, the most interesting thing that I see is when you watch all these delegates, all these delegations are coming out now. North Carolina has decided they're behind Kamala Harris, and New York says they're behind Kamala Harris, and each delegation starts going. This is like watching the election results in North Korea. Because what do you mean the delegates are suddenly for Kamala Harris? The delegates were voted for by the people of the Democrat Party. Like 14 million people or something voted in this election, and suddenly their votes don't matter anymore. And the oligarchs have just decided.
It does seem like we're at a point where all of a sudden it happened fast. We're beyond words and rhetoric, beyond politics, beyond process even. And we're dealing with people who are absolutely willing to kill other people for power. Like, that's real.
Of course.
And to stage a coup against an elected president who supposedly got 15 million more votes than any president in history.
Where are all the Biden voters?
But it's like nobody even cares about all that stuff. None of that was ever real. Now they're admitting it's not real. And it's just the people with the guns are in charge. It does feel that way.
It's 100% true. And this is, look, we have the book about it. And when you have an oligarchy that is pushed up against the wall, which by the way, they are right now. And it's a dangerous point, but also they would not be doing this if they didn't have to. If they didn't have to go up against Trump, if the assassin's bullet had been 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch to the right, and things had gone a little bit differently in that field in Butler, Pennsylvania, then they wouldn't be having to make these moves, right? Because then it would be, oh my gosh, this horrible thing, but we're gonna trudge on. The election must go on. America must be safe. Joe Biden is the guy, the stable candidate. And you'd be hearing the exact opposite from all of them. They'd be talking about how great Biden is presiding over the funeral of Donald Trump, and maybe give him a state funeral or something like that to sort of, appease the right, but of course never actually give any
But I
power.
wonder if we'll remember what we're learning right now, which is that everything that Joe Scarborough and Wolf Blitzer and Margaret Brennan or, all these people, it's all lies. They'll say anything they need to say. The Democratic Party is not democratic in any sense. Its voters are purely puppets, so are its politicians. It's all fake. And that maybe we should just never forget that and say it out loud. Like, none of this means anything. You're yapping about democracy, of rule of law and order. Like, it's all fake. You're totalitarians. You'll kill people who get in your way. You can never have power. And the rest of us should be prepared to make actual sacrifices to prevent you from getting power, because we're going to become a totalitarian state if you do. I mean, those seem like the obvious lessons to me.
The final goal here is the deconstruction of American elections.
Of course.
And the idea that, so 2016, if you look at it through the Unhumans playbook, the Unhumans lens, the filter, is that, these people have taken control and have been in control for, we could debate exactly when the control point took place.
November of 63, probably.
That's a pretty good date.
Yeah.
that's
seems like an obvious one.
Kind of just pull it out of
there.
And so the idea then is that since that's taken over, the national security state has taken over in league with the oligarchs, et cetera, that every president since then has either had to come directly from there, like George H.W. Bush, who was the director of CIA before he became president, or been at least acquiescent to their whims and gone along with their wars, gone along with whatever it is that the plan is for the empire. And then 2016 happens like by accident. And because, who would have thought this guy could come in and take over? And so you have this problem. You're trying to get him out of office the entire time. You're trying to bat him down, kick him off the beachhead but at the same time, you're also infiltrating and you're going through the administration. You're planning your people in to at least subvert as much as possible. So then you get people like Pompeo and people like Bolton get in. So they're trying to run a couple of regime change ops in Venezuela or, doing different things in the Gulf, for example. And so, but it never really goes anywhere because at the end of the day, he's still not one of yours. So then you get rid of him in 2020. Then finally, you have the opportunity to take another bite at the apple. Somehow the lawfare doesn't work. Somehow all of these things don't work. You always know that you have a nuclear option in a situation like that. And the nuclear option is like November 1963.
Yeah, just murder the guy.
But you wouldn't want to do that first. And this was something that the East Berliners understood and the Stasi understood, that if you can just destroy you can assassinate someone's personality,
Yeah,
then that's so much easier than just actually killing them, because then you might
break their spirit.
You might turn them into a martyr. But if you break their spirit, maybe, you know, if you're lucky, they commit suicide, or at least they just stay out of public view for forever. You know, this is what was done to dissidents and opposition in East Germany for years. And this is what they understood. This is why they didn't have to go full great purges of Stalin. Once the 1970s rolled around, now you're starting to get mass media, you're starting to get television, all of these tools start to be used. And so you destroy someone's reputation with that. But then social media comes around. In social media, you don't have those tools anymore. And suddenly you don't have control of the narrative. The narrative gets lost to you. So through social media, suddenly people can connect and say, hey, have you noticed this thing? Yeah, I noticed that thing. Did you notice that? I noticed that thing. But the media doesn't seem to be talking about this. And yet when you could say, well, wait a minute, I'm here. I can see it. This is actually happening in front of my eyes. Here's a video of it. Oh, by the way, and I can show you what's going on in real time through live streams, et cetera, et cetera. And so this becomes a massive, massive problem. And so all you're left with at that point, so you lose soft power. So the oligarchs lose soft power, the machine loses soft power. Right. And so they have to go back. What do we have left? We have hard power.
Persuasion doesn't work.
Yeah, persuasion isn't working. You go force. So force is you might, I don't know, raid somebody's home. And you might say that there's some documents there that they shouldn't have. And then handcuffs, then convictions. But if that doesn't work, the nuclear option of November 1963 is always on the table. Yeah. You know, hypothetically, Tucker, hypothetically.
Well, I think we just saw it. I do think that. I don't want to think that, but at all. It's the last thing I want to think. But let's just move back.
But I will also say this, that Leviathan would not be revealing itself right now if it didn't have to. If they had total control of the election process, total control of the general election, if they could just say flip a switch and put whoever they wanted in office, they would just do that. You would not see any of these extreme measures being reached to if they could just flip the switch. So there's a problem. Something's broken down. Something has gone wrong, because I think what they're really terrified of is a revolt of the people.
Yeah, and I think they've got a lot of internal conflict too.
Yes.
I mean, it's not clear to me. I think Obama has more power than Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party, but I'm not certain of that. But
he's got the money on his side. So the Clintons have always had name, but they've never had money.
Right.
And so that's why they're obsessed with money. That's why they do Clinton Foundation. That's why Viktor Pinchuk and the Ukrainian oligarchs become the number one for the Clinton Foundation, et cetera, because they have to. Obama, he's got 50 million here. He's got 150 million there. Right. He's taken care of. He's spoken for, which, by the way, is also one of the reasons that you don't really see Michelle Obama making any moves to getting into the presidency, because all of a sudden you'd have to explain where the money's coming from.
Well, that's exactly right. And that'd be a massive downgrade for her anyway. So what happens next? Biden, or somebody resigns on his behalf in any case, or this post appears on X, but he does not endorse anybody. And that's followed shortly by his endorsement of Kamala Harris, Carmela, or whatever we're calling her now.
And an endorsement attributed to him.
Right. Exactly right. So does she get it? Like, where do we go from here?
So there's a few ways to look at it. Ultimately, here's where we go, because this is what we've seen play out in Russia. We've seen it played out in the Soviet Union. So it's like we have to do Kremlinology. Remember the old Kremlinology of the Cold War? Yeah. That's what we have to do for our own government.
Is Andropov dead or not?
Is Andropov dead? Is Stalin dead? You know, is this? Don't tell the people until we have a line of succession, right? You know, first scene of Death of Stalin.
Yeah.
And so, you know, quick, grab his Twitter account, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And so what you would then do next is you would talk about line of succession. And then you might say, create a series of articles talking about conversations that were had before the handover was taken. You might say, leak some stories. You might have someone running around, but you would never actually have Jill Biden, because she's too upset and she's too angry about what's going on. That's why they can't talk to her. You'd never have Joe Biden, because of course he's not 100% on board with this, at least yet. We have ways of correcting you, you know, and he's still kind of going through that process. None of the family members would at that point, other than Frank, of course, who's coming out and going completely off script here.
The drunk uncle, yeah.
And then you've got to smear, okay, he's drunk uncle, he's alcoholic, you know, don't listen to him, don't listen to that, only listen to us. You